I'll do it off the mic. I wouldn't have it to said that somebody who came from the land of the Blarney Stone couldn't do it without a mic. And thanks, Margaret, for the beautiful introduction. And without in any way interfering with electoral matters here in the United States of America, I wish you all the best. Thank you. It's nice to have a native Irish speaker. It's nice to see an elected native Irish speaker, and to the mayor and to the speaker and to everybody who's turned up here today. I have to say this is a very, very special day for myself and for my wife Anya. I was in Portland once before, overnight. We were in Boston on St. Patrick's Day. We came up here overnight. I remember it was very snowy. We were meant to go down to Albany, but we never got to Albany. So we spent the night here with relations of Anya's. She was the one with the connection with this part of the world. And when I got the invitation to come to Portland, I said to Anya, I know you'll want to go there. I better go there as well. And it's fantastic to be here, and I have to congratulate everybody associated with this project. And of course, I know what happens. A beautiful building becomes available. The temptation is there to say, let's go for it. Let's go, let's take it over and build our dreams around it. And of course, that's the easy bit, you know, when all the enthusiasm is there. But I think the great thing about what you've done here is you've realized your vision. I know there's a lot to be done in the future, but you've step one done. And I have to congratulate everybody who's been associated with the work to bring it this far. And in doing what you've done, I think it's fair to say that you've saved a very important part of the heritage of Portland, Maine. An old building. There's a stone outside there we were shown on the way in. With a date of, I think, 1830 on it. And of course, the final building was built much later than that, but the foundation goes back, I think, even before 1830. And of course, that church in its time was a place where Irish people would have met, because the people who came here from Ireland were mainly Catholics, and would have been a refuge and a place of meeting. And of course, now what it is a place dedicated to the preservation and the safekeeping of community memories and history. But I think it's not only memory and history, it's a living culture that's travelling over and back across the Atlantic, that gets developed here, and we adapt parts of what America has done to our culture. Our culture at home is developing all the time, and I hope we're still exporting parts of Irish culture to North America. And I think it is very important that we all understand our past, no matter where our past came from. Because I think to understand the future, or to work for the future, you have to have some understanding of where your past lay. And of course, as you said, Margaret, the reality is that so many people came to America at the time of the famine and in bad times, right up until much more recent times. And they saw in America a land of opportunity, a land of hope, and a land that if they worked hard, that they could make great futures in for themselves and for their family. And on the other hand, I think it's fair to say that most people who came here kept some fondness and memory that they handed down through the generations of the land that they left. And even though many of them didn't return, and even though often children didn't return, there was still that great interest in Ireland and in Irish heritage, and a huge and emotional attachment to their ancestral country. And of course, coming here, it's very obvious in Portland, Maine, that those ties and that interest still exists. But I also, as Minister of Community, am interested in community development everywhere it happens. Everywhere I travel, I see communities making huge efforts on their own behalf. We're all the time at home encouraging communities to develop their own facilities. And it's marvellous every time I come to the United States to see the huge effort, the amount of money and time and volunteerism that is put into community projects this side of the Atlantic. And I'd like to say that I often say to people at home that what happens here in the United States is an example of best practice, as they call it in the modern jargon, of what community is about. And having seen what I've seen here, and thanks Vincent for the invitation to come, I'm absolutely sure that you'll see this project through to the very end. But not only will you build it, will you finish it. And I hope no more bells are up there to fall down on top of you. But not only will you finish it, but you'll fill this place with music and with song, and with drama, and with happiness. And a young generation will come in here and learn about their roots and their heritage. I won't delay you, but just to say that it is really heartwarming to see how many people came here and made good. And to see how the catastrophes of the past were certainly turned to the advantage not only of the New World, but in its own turn to Ireland. And when we look at the famine, population loss of 1.5 million people through emigration and death in a 10-year period. The population of Ireland dropping from 8 million to 4 million. It's now gone back up and it's heading for 6 million again. When you look at that huge calamity, and it was a calamity by any standards, but when you then look and see what people in an absolute disastrous situation made of it, what Ireland has contributed to America, through all of the people who came through famine times and afterward, but also what you have contributed back to Ireland over the generations, both in emigrant remittances and in more recent times in the whole North-South peace process. And of course Senator Mitchell represented this area, and without him I think it would be fair to say that we wouldn't have peace in Ireland today. So out of the famine, out of the greatest disaster in our history, in a strange way, amazingly good things have flown. And I was asked this year by the Taoiseach to chair a national commemoration committee on the famine. And it is our intention, somewhere in Ireland, to every year to commemorate the famine in an appropriate way. We intend picking a different location in Ireland every year. But we also have discussed the possibility of remembering the famine in some world location that was touched by the Irish famine. You have your famine memorial that we saw in the beautiful graveyard this morning here in Portland. You've got the famine memorial in Boston, New York, Rosehill and many other places. And what we're looking at is the possibility of picking one place each year and moving from place to place, so that every Irish community that has a famine connection could commemorate that catastrophic event in our history, but also what was for many people the beginning of a new life, a new escape, and to also recognize those countries that accepted our immigrants and who gave them opportunities, even though we are aware that many people had to fight for their rights also. And finally, to quote the President of Ireland, Mary McAleese, when she said that the emigrant's heart marches to the beat of two quite different drums, one from the old homeland and the other from the new. The emigrant has to bridge these two worlds, living comfortably in the new and bringing the best of his or her ancient identity and heritage to bear in life in an adopted homeland. I'm sure that the Maine Heritage Center will indeed bring the best of the past to bear on the present and on the future. And I wish you every success. And finally, to Vincent, who sent